There is a moment when some people quietly change. They do not announce it. They do not make a dramatic decision. They simply begin feeling more comfortable around animals than around people. A person who once searched for deep conversations with others may slowly find more peace sitting beside a dog, a cat, or any living creature that offers pure and honest connection. A crowded room full of conversations may start feeling exhausting, while a quiet moment with an animal feels like a place where their mind can finally rest. This shift is often misunderstood, but behind it is a powerful psychological story that reveals how deeply some people experience emotions. For certain highly sensitive personalities, preferring animals over people is not just about loving pets. It can represent a major emotional transformation that happens after years of observing human behavior, experiencing disappointment, and searching for a connection that feels real. These individuals often notice details that others ignore. They recognize changes in tone, hidden emotions, and the difference between genuine kindness and simple appearances. Their minds are constantly processing the feelings and intentions around them, which can make human relationships feel complicated and emotionally draining. This is where the idea of the world's rarest personality begins to appear, not as a label or a diagnosis, but as a way to describe people with unusually high empathy, strong emotional awareness, deep sensitivity, and powerful intuition. These individuals often feel emotions on a deeper level. They do not only listen to words, they pay attention to feelings behind those words. They do not only see actions, they notice the reasons behind those actions. And after years of seeing the complexity of human behavior, many of them begin to value the honesty and simplicity they find in animals. Animals do not create complicated emotional games. They do not hide their loyalty behind false promises. They respond through trust, affection, fear, and comfort. For someone who has spent years trying to understand people, this simple form of connection can feel incredibly powerful. It raises a fascinating question. Why do some deeply sensitive people reach a point where human relationships feel exhausting, but animals feel healing? Why can they understand the emotions of an animal without words, yet struggle to feel understood by the people around them? The answer reveals a side of human psychology that many people rarely talk about. Behind this preference is often a story of emotional experiences, personal growth, and a desire for genuine connection. These people are not always rejecting humanity. They are not always avoiding relationships. In many cases, they have simply learned that their emotional energy is valuable, and they want to share it where they feel safety, trust, and authenticity. In this video, we will explore the hidden psychology behind why some people begin choosing animals over people. We will uncover the experiences that lead to this emotional shift, the personality traits connected with this behavior, and why this transformation can actually reveal a deeper understanding of love and connection. Stay until the end, because the final reason behind this personality type may completely change the way you see people who feel closer to animals than to society. Welcome to Conscious Empath Hub, where we explore psychology, emotional intelligence, and the hidden patterns behind human behavior. If you enjoy discovering the deeper side of personalities and relationships, make sure to subscribe and join our community. Let's begin. Some people move through life with a level of emotional awareness that most people never develop. They do not only experience situations on the surface, they look deeper. They notice the small changes in a person's voice, the emotions behind a smile, the silence after certain words, and the difference between what someone says and what they truly feel. This is one of the reasons why certain highly sensitive personalities begin to feel disconnected from ordinary social interactions. Their minds are constantly observing, analyzing, and understanding the emotional world around them. People with this type of personality are often known for having extremely high empathy. They can easily recognize when someone is struggling, even when that person tries to hide it. They naturally feel the emotions of others and often become the person people turn to when they need comfort or support. Their compassion is not limited to people they know. Many of them feel a deep connection with animals, nature, and vulnerable beings because they have a strong desire to protect and care for life. But empathy is only one part of this personality. Another important trait is strong emotional perception. These individuals often notice details that others overlook. A simple change in someone's behavior may stand out to them immediately. A friend who suddenly becomes distant, a partner whose words no longer match their actions, or a person who shows kindness only when they need something can become very noticeable to them. They are not always searching for problems. They are simply naturally aware of emotional patterns. This awareness can become both a gift and a challenge. While many people focus only on what is being said, highly sensitive individuals often pay attention to what is not being said. They notice fake kindness hidden behind friendly words. They recognize when someone's actions do not match their promises. They can sense when a conversation feels forced or when a relationship is built on convenience instead of genuine care. These observations can make them feel different because they experience social interactions at a much deeper level. For many people, a disappointing interaction may simply feel like a bad experience and then be forgotten. But for someone who feels deeply, even small betrayals can have a much stronger emotional impact. They do not only hear words, they feel the emotions behind those words. A broken promise is not just a broken promise. It can represent a lack of honesty, a lack of respect, or a sign that the connection was not as real as they believed. This is why some of these individuals become more careful with who they allow into their emotional world. After experiencing repeated disappointment, manipulation, or relationships where they constantly gave more than they received, they may begin searching for connections that feel more peaceful and predictable. Their need is not perfection. Their need is authenticity. Animals often provide exactly this type of connection. They communicate in a direct and honest way. An animal does not create complicated, emotional games. It does not pretend to care while secretly trying to gain something. Its behavior is usually clear. It shows trust when it feels safe. It shows affection when it feels connected. It creates a bond through presence rather than words. For a person who has spent years trying to understand complicated human emotions, this simplicity can feel incredibly meaningful. Animals respond to patience, kindness, and emotional safety. They do not judge someone based on appearance, social status, or past mistakes. They respond to the energy and care they receive in the present moment. This connection becomes especially powerful for people who have strong observation skills and deep compassion. They often understand the silent language of animals because they are already trained to notice subtle emotional signals. They recognize fear, comfort, happiness, and trust through small behaviors. The same sensitivity that allows them to understand people also allows them to build strong emotional bonds with animals. Over time, this can create a shift in where they feel most understood. It is not always because they dislike people. It is often because animals provide the kind of honest connection that their sensitive nature has been searching for all along. They are drawn toward relationships where they do not have to question intentions, analyze hidden meanings, or protect themselves from emotional exhaustion. They are drawn toward a connection where trust feels natural and where being themselves feels enough. For many deeply sensitive individuals, the connection they build with animals feels different from the connections they experience with people. It often feels calmer, safer, and more predictable. This does not mean animals are better than humans in every way. It means that for certain personalities, the way animals communicate creates an emotional environment where they can finally relax. After spending years trying to understand complicated human emotions, They may find comfort in a relationship where trust is built through simple actions instead of complicated conversations. One of the biggest reasons animals feel safer is consistency. Animals often provide a stable emotional presence. A dog does not treat you differently because of your success, your appearance, or your social position. A cat does not care about your achievements or mistakes. The bond is usually based on familiarity, care, and trust. For someone who has experienced unpredictable relationships, this consistency can feel deeply comforting. They know that when they return home, their animal will respond with the same sense of connection and recognition. Highly empathetic people often spend a lot of time reading other people's emotions. They notice changes in mood, changes in behavior, and changes in the way someone communicates. While this ability can help them understand others, it can also become exhausting. Being constantly aware of hidden emotions, unspoken tension, or changing attitudes can make social situations feel overwhelming. With animals, that emotional pressure is often reduced because communication is much more direct. Animals do not create the same social expectations that humans often create. They do not expect someone to always say the perfect thing, act a certain way, or maintain a specific image. They do not judge someone based on their past, their mistakes, or their weaknesses. This non-judgmental presence can become extremely valuable for people who are used to feeling misunderstood or criticized. A person who has a sensitive personality may spend years adjusting themselves to make others comfortable. They may hide their emotions, ignore their own needs, or pretend they are fine when they are struggling. Around people, they may feel pressure to perform a certain version of themselves. They may feel like they need to be more social, more positive, or less emotional. But around animals, that pressure often disappears. Animals do not ask you to perform. They do not require you to pretend to be someone else. They respond to your presence. They respond to your care. They respond to the emotional energy you bring into the relationship. A person can sit quietly beside an animal without needing to explain their feelings. They can have a difficult day without having to hide their sadness. They can simply exist, and the connection remains. This simplicity is one of the reasons animals can provide such strong emotional comfort. Human relationships often involve many layers. There can be expectations, misunderstandings, social rules, and hidden emotions. People sometimes hide what they truly feel. They may say one thing while feeling another. They may change their behavior depending on the situation or what they want to gain from a relationship. Animals usually communicate through simple signals. They show trust when they feel safe. They show fear when they feel threatened. They show affection when they feel connected. They seek comfort when they need support. Their emotions are often easier to understand because they are expressed without complicated intentions. For a highly empathetic person, this direct communication can feel like a relief. They do not have to spend hours analyzing whether someone's kindness is genuine or whether a relationship is emotionally safe. They can simply experience the connection in the present moment. This is why many sensitive individuals feel a powerful bond with animals. They are naturally drawn toward honesty, loyalty, and emotional openness. They appreciate relationships where actions match feelings and where trust develops without pressure. Animals often represent these qualities in a way that feels deeply meaningful. The comfort animals provide is not only about companionship, it is about emotional safety. It is about having a relationship where someone can be vulnerable without fear of judgment. It is about finding a connection where silence does not feel uncomfortable and where presence itself becomes a form of communication. For someone who has spent years feeling overwhelmed by the complexity of human emotions, this kind of peaceful connection can feel like a place where their mind and heart can finally rest. There is often a hidden emotional journey behind the moment when someone starts feeling more connected to animals than to people. It usually does not happen overnight. It is not caused by one single bad experience. Instead, it is often the result of years of emotional exhaustion, repeated disappointment, and constantly giving more than they receive. For deeply sensitive individuals, relationships can become difficult when they spend most of their lives understanding others while feeling that very few people truly understand them. Many highly empathetic people naturally become the person everyone depends on. They are the ones friends call when they are going through a difficult time. They are the ones who listen without judgment, offer comfort, and try to see situations from another person's perspective. They often have a natural ability to make others feel heard and supported. Because of this, people may quickly become comfortable bringing their problems to them. Over time, this role can become emotionally heavy. The listener is always listening, but who listens to them? The helper is always helping, but who helps them when they are struggling? The person who understands everyone else may eventually realize that their own emotions have been pushed aside for years. This creates a quiet form of exhaustion. It is not always visible from the outside. A highly sensitive person may still smile, continue helping others, and appear calm, but internally they may feel emotionally drained. They may feel like they are constantly absorbing the emotions of people around them while having no place to release their own feelings. Repeated disappointment can make this exhaustion even stronger. When someone gives their trust, kindness, and emotional support, they naturally hope for honesty in return. But when they experience broken promises, hidden intentions, or emotional betrayal, it can deeply affect the way they view relationships. For someone who feels deeply, betrayal is not only about what happened, it is about what the experience represents. A person may start questioning why they always give chances but rarely receive understanding. They may wonder why they notice everyone else's pain, but others fail to notice theirs. They may begin realizing that some relationships were built around what they provided rather than who they truly were. This realization can slowly change the way they interact with people. They may become quieter. They may stop sharing everything. They may spend more time alone. They may begin choosing peaceful environments where they do not feel emotionally responsible for everyone around them. This is where animals often become a source of comfort. After experiencing relationships where they constantly felt needed but not truly valued, the simple connection with an animal can feel refreshing. An animal does not come with emotional demands. It does not expect someone to always be strong. It does not require someone to hide their struggles or maintain a certain image. The question that often changes everything is simple. Who takes care of me? For many sensitive people, this question becomes a turning point. It does not mean they stop loving people. It does not mean they lose their compassion. In many cases, their compassion becomes stronger because they finally learn that their own emotional health matters too. The difference is that they become more selective. They stop giving unlimited access to everyone. They become more careful about where they invest their time, attention, and emotional energy. They begin searching for relationships that feel balanced instead of relationships where they are always the one giving. Animals often fit naturally into this new stage of life because they offer a connection based on presence rather than expectation. They do not need someone to solve all their problems. They do not need someone to constantly prove their value. They simply respond to care with trust and affection. For a person who has spent years carrying emotional weight for others, this kind of relationship can feel deeply healing. It gives them a place where they can stop performing, stop explaining, and stop carrying the responsibility of making everyone else feel okay. They can simply exist and experience connection without feeling emotionally exhausted. And slowly, they begin to understand that protecting their energy is not a rejection of love. It is a way of finally respecting the value of their own heart. For some deeply sensitive people, the connection they build with animals feels almost natural from the beginning. They seem to understand animals in a way that does not always require training or explanation. They notice small changes in behavior, subtle movements, and quiet signals that many people overlook. A slight change in an animal's body language, a different sound, a moment of hesitation, or a shift in energy can tell them that the animal is feeling afraid, uncomfortable, or in need of care. This ability often comes from the same emotional awareness that allows them to understand people. Highly empathetic individuals are usually very observant. They pay attention to details because they are naturally focused on emotions. They do not only look at what is happening, they try to understand why it is happening. When they see an animal acting differently, their first reaction is often not frustration or control. The first reaction is curiosity and compassion. They may ask themselves why the animal is scared, why it is avoiding contact, or what experience caused that fear. Instead of forcing trust, they allow trust to develop slowly. This patience is one of the reasons animals often feel comfortable around emotionally aware people. Animals respond strongly to safety. They can sense when someone approaches them with calm energy instead of pressure. Many people try to control animals by focusing only on behavior, but sensitive individuals often focus on emotions first. They understand that fear, insecurity, and stress can influence the way an animal reacts. They recognize that an animal is not simply being difficult. It may be protecting itself, trying to communicate, or responding to something it does not understand. This way of thinking creates a different type of bond. The relationship is not built around forcing obedience. It is built around trust. The person learns the animal's personality, respects its boundaries, and creates an environment where the animal feels safe enough to open up. Animals communicate without using human language, but they are constantly expressing themselves. Their emotions appear through their actions, their movements, and their reactions. A sensitive person who is already skilled at noticing emotional patterns may naturally understand these silent forms of communication. They notice when an animal wants attention and when it needs space. They recognize when excitement is different from fear. They understand that silence can also be a form of communication. In many ways, they connect with animals because they are comfortable with emotions that do not need words. This is one reason some people feel closer to animals than to many humans. Human communication can sometimes involve hidden meanings, social expectations, and complicated emotions. Animals often communicate in a more direct way. Their feelings are expressed through their behavior. Their trust must be earned, but once it is given, it often feels genuine. For many sensitive personalities, this honesty creates a powerful emotional connection. They see animals as innocent beings that deserve kindness and protection. They are deeply affected by suffering and often feel a strong responsibility to care for creatures that cannot explain their pain with words. This connection is not only about having a pet, it is about recognizing another living being's emotions and responding with understanding. A person who feels deeply may look into an animal's eyes and see more than just an animal. They see a life that experiences fear, comfort, happiness, and attachment. The same heart that feels human pain can also feel the emotions of animals very deeply. This is why many empathetic people are naturally drawn toward protecting animals. Their compassion does not stop at human relationships. It extends to any being that experiences emotions. They often feel a strong connection because animals represent qualities they value deeply. Honesty, loyalty, innocence, and unconditional trust. For someone who has spent years feeling overwhelmed by human complexity, this bond can become a place of emotional balance. It reminds them that connection does not always need to be explained. Sometimes the strongest relationships are built through patience, presence, and the simple understanding that two beings feel safe with each other. When someone begins choosing animals over people, many people quickly misunderstand what it means. They may assume that this person has become cold, disconnected, or unable to form relationships. But the reality is often much deeper. For many highly sensitive individuals, this choice is not about rejecting humanity. It is about searching for a type of connection that feels peaceful, safe, and emotionally honest. A person who spends more time with animals may not be trying to escape the world. They may simply be tired of relationships that require constant emotional effort, pretending, or protecting themselves. After experiencing repeated disappointment, some people begin to value peace more than popularity. They start realizing that having many connections does not always mean having meaningful connections. For these individuals, animals often represent a space where they can finally relax. There is no pressure to impress. There is no need to explain every emotion. There is no fear of being judged for being too sensitive, too quiet, or too emotional. They can simply exist and experience a bond that feels natural. This desire for peace often develops after years of emotional overload. Highly empathetic people are usually very aware of the emotions around them. They can feel tension in a room. They can sense when someone is unhappy. They can recognize when a relationship feels unhealthy. While this awareness can be a strength, it can also become exhausting when they constantly absorb the emotional atmosphere around them. Animals often provide a different experience. Their presence can feel calming because the relationship is built on simplicity. There are no hidden agendas. There is no need to question whether affection is genuine. The connection is based on trust, care, and consistency. Choosing animals can also represent a deeper need for emotional safety. Many sensitive people have experienced situations where they opened their hearts and were hurt. They may have trusted people who were not honest with them. They may have supported others who disappeared when they needed support themselves. Over time, these experiences can teach them to become more careful with their emotional energy. This does not mean they stop caring about people. In fact, many of these individuals still have a deep love for humanity. They still want meaningful friendships and relationships. They still appreciate kindness and compassion. The difference is that they no longer give their emotional energy to everyone without thinking. They become more selective. They begin asking different questions. Does this person bring peace into my life? Do I feel respected around them? Can I be myself without feeling judged? Is this relationship based on honesty, or is it based on what I can provide? This change is often mistaken for being antisocial, but there is an important difference. A person who dislikes everyone may be avoiding connection completely. A deeply sensitive person may still desire connection, but become more careful about who receives access to their inner world. Their heart is not closed. Their boundaries are stronger. They have learned that not every person deserves unlimited access to their emotions, time, and energy. They understand that protecting their peace is not the same as rejecting people. Sometimes, stepping away from unhealthy relationships allows them to create space for healthier ones.
Many people who prefer animals over people are not searching for isolation. They are searching for authenticity.
They want relationships where actions match words. They want connection without manipulation, kindness without hidden motives, and trust without constant uncertainty. They are not running away from love. They are searching for a more honest version of it. Animals often become meaningful because they represent the qualities these individuals value most: loyalty, presence, acceptance, emotional honesty. They remind them that connection does not always need complicated conversations or perfect explanations. Sometimes the strongest bonds are created through simple moments of trust. For a sensitive person, choosing animals can be a reflection of personal growth. It shows that they have learned what kind of relationships bring them peace and what kind of environments allow them to feel safe. It is not always a sign that they have given up on people. Sometimes it is a sign that they have finally understood the importance of genuine connection. The journey from constantly seeking approval to finding inner peace is one of the biggest transformations a deeply sensitive person can experience. For many empathetic individuals, life begins with a strong desire to make others happy. They often grow up learning to pay attention to everyone else's feelings before their own. They become skilled at understanding what people need, what makes others comfortable, and how to avoid creating conflict. Their kindness becomes a natural part of who they are, but over time, they may realize that they have spent so much energy taking care of others that they have forgotten to take care of themselves. In the earlier stages of this journey, many sensitive people feel responsible for the emotions of those around them. They try to keep everyone happy. They avoid disappointing others. They say yes, even when they are tired. They offer support, even when they are struggling themselves. Their desire for acceptance can become so strong that they begin ignoring their own needs. They may believe that being needed means being valued. They may think that if they continue giving, understanding, and forgiving, people will eventually appreciate their heart. But after experiencing repeated emotional exhaustion, many of them begin to recognize a painful truth. Giving endlessly does not always create deeper connection. Sometimes, it only teaches others to expect more from them. This realization becomes the beginning of transformation. Instead of constantly searching for approval, they begin searching for balance. They start understanding that their worth does not depend on how much they do for others. They learn that kindness does not mean allowing people to take advantage of them. Compassion does not mean sacrificing their own peace. This is when boundaries begin to appear. Boundaries are not walls designed to keep everyone away. They are limits that protect emotional health. A sensitive person who develops strong boundaries is not becoming less caring. They are learning how to care without losing themselves in the process. They begin choosing where their energy goes and who truly deserves access to their emotional world. As this transformation happens, animals often become an important part of their healing journey. Animals represent a type of relationship that feels free from emotional games. There is no need to prove worth. There is no need to compete for attention. There is no need to constantly wonder about hidden intentions. The relationship is built through trust, patience, and presence. For someone who has spent years navigating complicated human emotions, this simplicity can become deeply meaningful. An animal does not need a perfect version of them. It does not require them to hide their sadness or pretend to be stronger than they are. It accepts their presence without demanding performance. Through these connections, many sensitive people develop even greater patience. Caring for an animal teaches understanding and responsibility. It teaches them to slow down, observe carefully, and respond with kindness instead of reacting emotionally. They begin to understand that every living being has its own fears, needs, and personality. This process can also increase compassion. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by everyone's emotions, they learn how to direct their compassion in healthier ways. They become more aware of when to help and when to step back. They learn that true compassion includes compassion toward themselves. Emotional balance becomes another important part of this growth. They no longer feel the need to absorb every problem around them. They begin separating their own emotions from the emotions of others. They understand that they can care about someone without carrying their entire emotional burden. With this new awareness comes deeper self-understanding. They start recognizing their own patterns, their own needs, and the environments where they feel most peaceful. They become more comfortable being alone, not because they dislike people, but because they have learned that solitude can be a place of healing and reflection. The person who once searched everywhere for acceptance slowly learns to create acceptance within themselves. They stop chasing relationships that drain them and begin choosing connections that bring peace. Animals often become part of this beautiful transformation because they remind these individuals of something they may have forgotten. Connection does not have to be complicated to be meaningful. Sometimes, the most powerful relationships are the ones where trust, care, and understanding exist without conditions. One of the biggest misunderstandings about people who prefer animals over people is the way society often interprets their behavior. When someone chooses to spend more time with animals, enjoys quiet moments with pets, or feels a stronger emotional connection with animals, many people quickly create assumptions without understanding the deeper reasons behind it. They may believe this person dislikes humanity, avoids relationships, or cannot connect with others. But these assumptions often fail to recognize the emotional experiences and personality traits behind this choice. A common belief is that someone who prefers animals must hate people. But in many cases, the opposite is true. Many deeply sensitive individuals care about people so much that they become emotionally affected by human behavior. Their preference for animals is not created by a lack of compassion. It is often created by having too much compassion and becoming exhausted by relationships that feel emotionally confusing or unhealthy. A person who loves animals deeply may still care about friends, family, and society. They may still enjoy meaningful conversations, helping others, and building relationships. The difference is that they become more aware of the quality of those relationships. They no longer want connections that constantly leave them feeling drained, misunderstood, or emotionally unbalanced. Another assumption people make is that someone who prefers animals must be lonely. Society often connects solitude with sadness, but for many sensitive individuals, spending time alone or with animals can actually be a peaceful and healthy choice. They may not be searching for more people around them. They may be searching for more meaningful connections. There is a big difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Being alone can provide space for reflection, healing, and emotional balance. A person who enjoys the company of animals may have a rich inner world and a deep sense of connection with life around them. Their happiness may not depend on constant social interaction or external approval. Another misunderstanding is the idea that these individuals cannot connect with people. This is often completely wrong. Many people who have strong bonds with animals are also capable of deep human relationships. In fact, their ability to connect may be stronger because they value emotions, loyalty, and trust so deeply. The difference is that they become more selective about the relationships they build. They no longer focus only on having more connections. They focus on having better connections. They begin to understand that a large social circle does not always mean emotional fulfillment. A few genuine relationships can feel more valuable than many shallow ones. After experiencing fake kindness, emotional manipulation, or relationships based only on convenience, many sensitive people begin looking for something different. They stop being impressed by appearances. They stop valuing relationships simply because they look good from the outside. They start paying attention to what truly matters. They want honesty. They want consistency. They want emotional safety. They want relationships where people can be authentic without pretending. This is why animals often become so meaningful to them. Animals represent the qualities they appreciate most. They do not care about social status, achievements, popularity, or image. They respond to care, patience, and trust. They remind these individuals that real connection is not about performance. It is about presence. A person who prefers animals may not be rejecting people. They may simply be rejecting relationships that feel empty. They are not looking for perfection. They are looking for sincerity. They want connections where words and actions match, where kindness is genuine, and where trust is built naturally over time. In a world where many relationships can become influenced by appearances, competition, and expectations, some sensitive individuals choose a different path. They choose depth over quantity. They choose peace over constant emotional stress. They choose authenticity over pretending. Their animals, their love for animals is not always a sign that they have lost faith in people. Sometimes it is a sign that they still believe in connection so deeply that they refuse to settle for anything that feels false. They are not moving away from relationships. They are moving toward relationships that feel real. The person who chooses animals over people is not always someone who lost faith in love. Sometimes they are someone who discovered what real love feels like. Behind this choice is often a deeper understanding of connection, trust, and emotional safety. These individuals are not necessarily turning their backs on relationships. They are often searching for a type of relationship that feels more honest, more peaceful, and more meaningful. For many sensitive personalities, life teaches them that not every connection is built on genuine care. They learn that some people say kind words but do not always have kind intentions. They learn that some relationships are based on what someone can receive rather than what they can give. After experiencing these differences, they begin to value the qualities that feel rare in human interaction. This is where animals become so important. Animals often remind these individuals of the simplest and most powerful parts of love. They represent loyalty in its purest form. An animal does not stay close because of someone's achievements, popularity, or social position. It builds a bond through trust, familiarity, and care. For someone who values emotional honesty, this type of loyalty can feel incredibly meaningful. Animals also teach the importance of presence. They do not need complicated explanations or perfect conversations to create a connection. They simply exist with you. They sit beside you during difficult moments. They respond to your emotions without requiring you to explain every feeling. Their presence becomes a reminder that sometimes support does not come from having the perfect words. Sometimes support comes from simply being there. This can have a powerful impact on people who spend much of their lives feeling responsible for others. Many sensitive individuals are used to providing comfort, solving problems, and understanding everyone around them. But animals offer them a different experience. They provide companionship without demanding emotional performance. They allow these individuals to receive care instead of always being the person who gives it. Another quality animals represent is forgiveness. Animals often do not hold on to mistakes in the same way humans do. They can rebuild trust through patience and kindness. For a person who has experienced judgment, criticism, or rejection, this can feel deeply healing. Animals remind them that connection does not always require perfection. It requires understanding. Simplicity is another reason these bonds become so powerful. Human relationships can involve many layers of expectation, social rules, and hidden emotions. People may worry about saying the wrong thing, being misunderstood, or meeting certain expectations. Animals create a different type of relationship. The connection is often built through small moments. A familiar greeting, a comforting presence, a quiet moment of trust. This simplicity does not make the relationship less meaningful. In many cases, it makes it more meaningful because the connection feels natural. There is no need to prove worth. There is no need to compete for attention. There is no need to hide weaknesses. The bond exists because two beings feel safe with each other. For deeply empathetic people, animals also represent genuine affection. They show emotions without pretending. Their excitement, comfort, fear, and attachment are often expressed openly. This honesty can feel refreshing in a world where many people hide behind carefully created images. The deeper truth is that people who feel strongly connected to animals are often people who value emotional authenticity. They are not searching for a perfect world. They understand that humans are complicated. They simply appreciate relationships where kindness, trust, and care are real. In a world where many people hide behind masks, some hearts naturally move toward beings that communicate without pretending. They are drawn toward honesty because they know the value of a connection that does not require acting. Their love for animals reveals something important about them. It shows that their heart is still searching for connection, not running away from it. It shows that even after disappointment, they still believe in the power of genuine love. They have simply learned that the deepest connections are often the ones where trust does not need to be forced and affection does not need to be questioned. Preferring animals over people is not always a sign of isolation. Sometimes it is the result of a person who has felt deeply, understood too much, and finally learned where their peace comes from. Behind this choice is not always rejection. Sometimes it is a quiet realization that emotional connection should feel safe, honest, and peaceful. Some people spend years trying to understand everyone around them. They listen, support, forgive, and carry emotions that are not even their own. But eventually, they begin to understand that their own heart deserves care too. They stop searching for connection in places that leave them exhausted, and they start appreciating the relationships that bring comfort, trust, and genuine affection. Animals often become part of this journey because they remind people of the simple things that truly matter. Loyalty without conditions, presence without pressure, affection without pretending. They show that connection does not always need complicated words. Sometimes the strongest bonds are built through quiet moments, trust, and the feeling of being accepted exactly as you are. So take a moment and reflect. Have you ever felt more understood by an animal than by a person? Have you ever experienced a connection where silence felt more comforting than 1,000 words? For some people, that bond reveals a deeper part of their personality and the way they experience the world. If this message connected with you, remember that sensitivity is not a weakness. The ability to feel deeply, understand others, and recognize genuine connection is a rare quality. In a world where many people search for attention, some hearts are simply searching for honesty. Thank you for watching Conscious Empath Hub. If you enjoyed this video and want to discover more about psychology, emotional intelligence, and the hidden behaviors that reveal who we truly are, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Like this video to support our content, and share it with someone who understands the power of a genuine connection. Your support helps us continue creating videos that explore the deeper side of human emotions.